Welcome back. This is Facebook Auction Live, episode 12. Incredible. Episode 12 already. This is the third installment of Breakthrough. So today we're going to talk about Q5. I love to hear Q5 because I thought there was Q4 and that was it. But we're going to hear more about that. And, if I can go to the agenda real quick, we're also going to talk about creative in the auction, creative and seasonal messaging, and then liquidity and auto placements. Before I bring on my special guest, I want to introduce my two Facebook experts here, Julia and Matt McKim. Can you guys give a brief introduction really quick?
Sure. Hi, I'm Julia Packer. I'm a client solutions manager here at Facebook. I help e-commerce business grow and scale their business across the platform, and I've been at Facebook a little over 2.5 years.
Thanks for joining us, Julia.
Thanks, Judy. I've been on the show a couple of times before. So I'm Matt McKim. I lead a team of auction experts. We think about helping advertisers to use our auction more efficiently.
That's awesome. So let's talk about Q5. All right, Julia, we're going to start.
Favorite time of year.
My favorite too. We're going to start with you first, okay? So what exactly is Q5? Obviously, this is important in timing. We just got finished with Christmas and Black Friday, and everybody is talking about Q5. Every single brand that I know of is preparing for Q5. What is it?
So Q5 is a term that we've lovingly coined for this magical period in between Christmas and New Year's. And it represents a time period where some of the larger, traditionally Q4 advertisers have dropped out. So a little bit of reduction in competition, but the purchase intent is actually still incredibly high. So you have all of these users, consumers coming on with holiday cash, holiday gift cards, a new year, a new you mindset, wanting to gift themselves or make new habits. So incredible opportunity for advertisers to come in and see some really strong performance on the platform.
Awesome. So there's a lot of advertisers joining us today that are small, medium-sized, and large. Who does Q5 work for the best?
So Q5, I like to say, is for everyone. So obviously your new year, new you mindset customers are going to be a hot client for this time period, but really the auction is primed for anyone to take advantage. So we're going to talk a lot about creative today. If you can have the perception that you have an end of year deal or something of gift to yourself, it can really be for all of our advertisers.
So you just mentioned the auction. We have our auction expert here, Matt. Speak to me about how the auction is connected to this whole Q5 theme.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the auction is the heart of all of the ad buying that happens on Facebook, and Q5 is a great time of year. One of the reasons Q5 is so important for us is because this is a time of year where we actually still see, as Julie mentioned, a lot of purchase intent. A lot of people who are still on the platform still want to be engaging with marketers. But at the same time, we see other marketers perhaps pulling out, right? It's the end of the year. They've had a great Black Friday, Cyber Monday, holiday season, and now they've sort of started to pull back some of their spend. And so for the advertisers that are in the system, there's an incredible amount of opportunity to be taken advantage of.
Yeah. Matt, can you give me an example of how an advertiser would actually take advantage of Q5?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it all comes down to the strategy an advertiser might decide to use. I think in this case, instead of just planning for those few holiday events, like a Cyber Monday, a Black Friday, we start thinking about what the rest of the year might look like. What are those times when the opportunity in the system is a little bit more advantageous for an advertiser to take advantage of? And I think Q5 is the way to do it. One of the things we're going to talk about today is creative. How do you use creative in partnership with this Q5 time period to really get great performance? So I'd love to get into that topic.
That's incredible. So now we're going to take a moment to introduce our special guest, Sunil. Sunil, you can come join us right now. Sunil's joining us. How you doing, Sunil? Sunil is the EVP of Marketing, representing Beachbody and OpenFit. Sunil, before we go into what you do, can you talk about your background a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So I've been at a wide array of companies, everything from Amazon in Seattle, where I was heading up their Facebook marketing, to startups like Thrive Market, most recently, which is a health and wellness company in LA, to most recently at Beachbody, which is, again, health and wellness. Just a little bit of a different angle. This is more about fitness, and Thrive Market was more about what you put into your body, so food and healthy organic groceries.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I want to remind the audience before this hat covers my eyes that you guys can ask any questions you want. I have an iPad. I'm taking questions live. And then we also have a few minutes at the end of this discussion to take some additional questions.
Yep.
All right. So we're talking about creative right now. Matt, every single time we talk about creative, people don't necessarily want to know or hear about how creative actually is related to the auction.
Yeah.
Can you spin that really quick? Like, what is that?
Yeah, I mean, creative is a vital part of the auction. I would actually argue it's probably the most important part of the auction. And the reason why is because over time, we've really improved our ability through machine learning to target more effectively, to figure out the right placement for the right person. The one thing that, we as a data science engineering work have a lot of work to do is thinking about the kind of creative that's going to be most effective for a particular advertiser. So I think creative is really a huge opportunity. One of the things I think we'll chat about in a second is how it actually affects our auction.
Yeah.
The components of creative and how that interacts with the auction.
Yeah, so I want to give that context before Sunil starts going into what his brand actually does and how creative influences what you're doing. So Sunil, give me a little bit of information about how you're thinking about Q5.
Yeah, it's interesting. As we started to talk about this topic, I just realized that I've been thinking about the Q5 for about 8 years now, right? And at Amazon, it was unique because literally starting on December 22nd to December 24th, like literally 48 hours, 36 hours was our Q5 because Amazon could deliver and no other e-com partner could deliver before Christmas. So in thinking about it, it's like I've been thinking about this problem or this opportunity for about 8 years, which is pretty phenomenal. But really, what's consistent is thinking about it twofold. It's not only about what you capture in demand or in conversions in that period, but how you set yourself up for the following quarter. How do you leverage the cheaper CPMs to refill your retargeting pool so that you can continue to capture that demand over time? Obviously, you want to make as many conversions happen during the time, but really, how do you make sure we leverage that and kind of get a 2-for-1?
That's awesome. Sunil, you've been in marketing for an extremely long time and you understand.
Now you're aging, man.
You've been in marketing for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But you really have a great understanding of what's going on. I just want to hear more about how Q5 has evolved.
Yeah.
Because you just mentioned earlier that how it was at Amazon. Well, when you compare that time period to this time period, what are some of the differences?
I think it's really what I was saying earlier, right? Like now it's about those two things, right? Like really thinking about it as a full funnel opportunity to really build your retargeting audiences so you get a little bit longer bang for the buck. At Amazon, it was just in 36 hours or 48 hours. I literally remember my first year, our challenge to our Facebook team, to ourselves was, can we spend $1 million a day during that time? That was sort of the goal. Because we knew conversion rate was going to be great. We wanted to spend as much money as possible to drive that. What's evolved is really thinking about it twofold to say, it's not just the conversions in period, but then how do you drive and create big enough, quality enough retargeting pools that you can continue to kind of get leverage for January and February. That's become increasingly more important as I've evolved and gone into these health and wellness, new year, new you kind of companies. It becomes even more important because our season doesn't end, like Amazon did on the 24th or the 23rd. It's actually all of Q1. So it's even more important for us to think about it more holistically to drive conversions, build those audiences so that we can then have a jump start for all of Q1.
That's amazing. And I mentioned Beachbody earlier, and I also mentioned OpenFit. Can you tell us a little bit more about OpenFit?
Sure. So OpenFit is our newest platform that we just launched November 7th. What's really, really exciting about OpenFit is the live aspect of it. As you guys imagine, there's a handful of competitors in the fitness space, right? So it's recorded content. You sign up for a subscription. You either have an app or your TV or a bike or a treadmill or whatever it is, but you participate in this class remotely, but it's pre-recorded or it's a group class. What's really exciting about OpenFit is we've been able to merge a great trainer experience. It's almost getting a personal trainer in your pocket for $20 a month, to where while you're doing the class, the trainer is giving you live feedback one-on-one to say, how can you get the most out of that workout? And that is absolutely unique. So it's really taking something like a personal trainer, which is inaccessible for most people, either financially or geographically or whatever the case might be, and making that accessible for everyone for a price point that is accessible for everyone.
That's
It's
awesome.
really exciting.
Yeah, and I know a lot of our viewers are familiar with the Beachbody brand, and I believe you have a case study for us.
Yeah. So One of the things that, this is from last year, we really leveraged Q5 in a big way, and we were able to see our cost per acquisition drop by 30%. It's a combination of all the creative testing that we were doing, but also just the effective CPMs that we were seeing. The CPMs literally just dropped, even before the 25th. It's more probably like around the 22nd, 23rd of December when all the advertisers pull out because they can't ship anymore, except for digital product companies. And we start to see that early. And then starting on the 26th, once everybody's back from Christmas, they're planning ahead and they're doing that. So it's sort of the right combination of intent and CPMs kind of going the right direction in our favor. And as a result, we saw 72% increase in subscriptions as well. So that sort of combination, that's kind of the perfect thing that you want, where you grow your subscriber base and decrease your CPA, and quality actually is really great as well. So that's sort of the third component.
How do you balance your CPMs with your CPA goals? How do you think about that? So I know a lot of advertisers, they try to either focus on one or the other, right? They either try to focus on CPAs or they try to focus on CPMs being a little bit more upper funnel.
Sure.
What's more important to you, or how are you looking at the business when you look at those two things?
Yeah, the last few roles that I've been in a few companies, like it is very DR, right? Even if you're investing on a CPM basis or you're buying inventory media on a CPM basis, at the end of the day, it has to back out to a CPA target that we have. And I think most advertisers, especially smaller advertisers, that's absolutely kind of how they think about the world. So for me, it's just a way to buy media. At the end of the day, everything has to back out to a CPA target that we have. That's and then aligns to our CAC or LTR, basically.
Definitely. And when we think about buying media, Matt, we talk about creative all the time. We talk about structure, right? And I know you have a lot of POVs on what type of structure works best for advertisers. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly a balance between, I think, as we were discussing, long-term and short-term returns, which one you want to optimize for. I love the point about it all sort of backs into some CPA number, because oftentimes we like to think of brand objectives and direct response objectives as fundamentally different, when ultimately they're driving towards the same goal. We're just going to measure them and look at them slightly differently. So one of the things I think that's important here when we think about creative specifically in the auction is thinking about the total value equation. So if we anchor on the total value equation, which we've shown in these chats before, when you think about this, total value is going to be an advertiser bid times some estimated action rate plus a user value. Now, the confusing thing here for people is oftentimes the belief that creative is going to drive this user value component. But actually what we see here is actually creative driving the estimated action rate. And so when you think about structure, you think about how you want to design your account, it's about designing the kind of creative and the kind of structure that's going to drive forward this estimated action rate. And this is where we actually see most of the value to creative coming in. So thinking about that, it means highly differentiated creative, right? It means testing different people at different points along their journey, having a message that resonates well at that place, and then having enough of differentiated messaging across different platforms that we can reach people where they are.
And one question I get all the time is, how many creative assets should I have in one ad set? Right? Matt, how would you address that?
Yeah, we typically recommend between 4 to 6 different pieces of creative per ad set. The reason behind that is that there is something in our system, which exists everywhere in any machine learning system, which is known as the explore sort of exploit trade-off, right? So we're going to spend some portion of our time exploring ads, deciding if this ad is better than this other ad. We're also going to spend some portion taking advantage of those learnings that we've gained. And so one difficult challenge that we're faced with is deciding how to balance between that. Okay. And so in the system today, to drive performance, oftentimes we're driving to a place where we're taking advantage of the learnings we've gained. So this means if you think about a structure that had, let's say you were to say, I want to add 100 different pieces of creative to one ad set, the reality is that would struggle to deliver because we would take a very, very long time to learn which one of those ads was better than the other. And the reality is, in that situation, we would prefer to have a smaller number of ads so that we can quickly find the winner and deliver towards that ad.
Okay, what if I'm not worried about that? What if I want to skip the whole exploration process?
Yeah.
Can I do that?
There's no way to skip the exploration process. If you're optimizing for some DR or even most brand objectives, it's going to have an exploration phase, because we have to determine what ad is better than another. Not only is there, the learnings we have within an ad set, but it's learnings across the entire account. Right. So one thing to keep in mind is that value formula I just shared, that exists across the whole account. And so if there's another ad that has a higher total value, we're going to deliver that ad instead. And so even if we were only thinking about this in isolation, it's important that we have that exploration phase.
Okay. So if I had 6 ads in one ad set, right? Where's the learning actually happening?
Yeah. So, I mean, of course, our system learns at many points along the way, right? So I would actually say if you want the complete answer, we learn at all different points.
Yep.
But in this case, we're learning which of these particular ad sets is likely going to have a higher estimated action rate, right? Which one is going to drive a conversion for a particular person. And of course, all of these calculations happen in real time. So one of the beautiful things behind the auction is that, this formula that we just showed, that happens for every single ad for every person on our system. And the goal of this is to figure out which ad is going to be more resonant for that individual person.
Okay. And Julia, you can have 6 ads, but they all be different types of formats. What's your take on that?
Yeah, so my most basic advice for advertisers is to have mixed assets, right? To invest in multiple types of creative. And I know that's kind of an eye roll answer, like you should be doing everything, but let me explain a little bit why that's important. So Facebook now supports so many different type of creative formats, which is really wonderful from a user perspective because you can have sort of this dynamic experiences with brands, right? So with OpenFit, I can get a video ad, I can see a static or a carousel or something more immersive, which benefits me and it benefits the advertiser. But beyond just having a unique experience for your audience, it's actually incredibly important from an auction perspective, as Matt just mentioned. And what I mean by that is our algorithm is so smart that we can actually determine the type of content that you want to interact with based on what you have previously. And that becomes important as maybe I am a person who likes to watch a video and then purchase, whereas Chidi, maybe you just need to see a static image and then you're going to go and make the purchase there. So if I'm an advertiser investing only in video, I might miss out on you as a purchaser. And if I'm investing only in static, you might miss out on me as a purchaser. So ultimately, we really recommend that you have a couple of different types of ads running in one ad set. And the last thing I'll say here is we've heard over time, and particularly from smaller advertisers, that, hey, I don't have the in-house creative resources like Beachbody. I don't have a whole production team. How can I be making videos? How can I be making these mixed type of assets? And luckily, we've released a ton of external resources. You can go and explore right now in the platform, which we will link for all of you out there. But super easy now to upload static images and be making videos, to leverage stories templates, templates for your dynamic ads. And I really encourage everyone to go and explore that so you can have diverse sets of assets.
I think on that point, especially for folks that are kind of getting ramped up in things, being creative and really identifying the stories within your business that you want to tell, like, don't worry about the production value because the platform actually responds better, and you guys can validate, to the more shot on iPhone UGC. It actually responds better. Really focusing on the stories you want to tell and less about sort of the production value of it. And there's some fundamental, like, basics that your Facebook team will tell you, like the thumb stopping, the first 3 seconds are important, like all these things. As long as you think about those, worry less about the production value, worry more about the authenticity and the stories you want to tell, and you can get a good test read. And then if you start to spend more, then you can go hire agencies or do it in-house or leverage Facebook resources. But don't be afraid to do it yourself. Those things, you'll be surprised how often that actually works.
Yeah, speaking about doing it yourself, Sunil, you have an in-house creative team, right?
Yeah.
So how does that work for you? So, because I know a lot of companies that I've worked with in the past, they always trying to decide whether they should bring their creative team in-house or work with external partners. Like, how do you think about that?
I was fortunate enough to walk into a company where video content is the product, right? If you think about Beachbody, our product is the video content that we produce. So as a result, we have a 75% person like creative team, and 10 sort of production, like studios and bays and like dedicated studios in Venice. It is a whole thing like that. I just got lucky and walked into it. I think a better example is probably a Thrive Market, where we were trying to figure this out. And what we did was we basically did what I was saying, was like we literally shot videos on our iPhones in our little made up kitchen and played around with things, right? And we got influencers involved. We had a lot of influencers that were really good at producing engaging video content and stories. And so we just asked them, right? We just learned from them and said, we'd love to send our video folks, we had one person, video person, to your house when you're shooting a story for our next partnership. And so they just sort of learned organically, but really looking at all the resources at your disposal, like influencers are a great way, not only to get that post, to get the sale, but really to learn, because that's what they're doing. That's their superpower. So really looking at your network of folks and just figuring out how to learn from them, I think that was key.
You just mentioned an interesting point, influencers.
Yeah.
How are you thinking about influencers these days?
Yeah. So for OpenFit, the moat, or why it exists, or this live trainer thing that I talked about, it is amazing, but it's also really hard to communicate because it's first to market. So we're actually leveraging influencers to kind of tell that story on our behalf. So we're going to go double down on finding influencers that will take that live personal trainer-led classes, talk about their experience, get real-time feedback, instead of me thinking about what are the 5 bullets on a landing page that's going to do the job, to really focus on the influencer, really focusing on the benefit rather than how it works. Okay. So that's how we're going to be leveraging influencers for OpenFit, is to really tell the story of the benefit, because we often get tripped up on the mechanics and the how, but really showing somebody using it, that's going to be powerful.
Yeah, and you also mentioned being video first, right?
Yeah.
And that's fortunate, because obviously being video first is extremely important to be successful on our platform. Yeah. With that being said, do you guys prioritize video over static images? Like, how do you weigh the two, knowing that you're so good in video? Is static images even important anymore in that case?
I think to Julia's point, right, we have to have the diversity. We have to have a mix of everything, but it's because it's not just about what we're good at. It's actually where the inventory is and what we can get to, right? So we're good at video, but if the inventory and how people are engaging is static, then we have to go figure out how to be good at that. Yeah. So I think to Julia's point, we have to have a breadth of creative types into the ad set, and then target all placements basically, and see what Facebook graces us with.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you mentioned inventory, right? Yeah. So I'm just going to put it out there. Inventory is incredibly important. We talk about inventory all the time. Everybody's going to have a different perspective on inventory. Matt, let's start with you. How important is inventory when we're looking at automatic placements or CBO or anything else that provides you with additional inventory?
Yeah, I think, from my perspective, when we think about the auction, the reason it works, like the reason placement optimization and campaign budget optimization really work is because it gives an advertiser the liquidity of opportunities, right? So having a wide variety of inventory out there is super important, because it allows us to find the right ad, right person, right time, right? It allows us to make that connection. And without those opportunities, we just can't do it. Right. And so I think one of the values we see in our system is that as we have more and more inventory, we basically have more flexibility to make that call. And that's where we see a lot of the value being driven for advertisers.
Julia, what have you seen with some of your advertisers? Have they been as close to understanding inventory to improve their businesses as you would like them to be?
Well, it depends on the advertiser, right? So some of our advertisers have a little bit less creative bandwidth. And so absolutely, when we think about inventory and maximizing delivery to all of the available placements, we're going to encourage them to lean in to automatic placements. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with automatic placements, this is something that you can opt into at the ad set level within Ads Manager that will optimize delivery of your creative across placements and deliver the impression, take that inventory wherever the user is, whether that's Facebook, Messenger, Instagram, Audience Network. We will actually reformat that creative to best fit the placement so that you have the most eligible opportunities to be taking advantage of inventory and delivering the impression to the user to achieve your desired outcome. Now I say we'll automatically reformat that, but of course you're going to want to make sure that the dimensions are universal. So 1x1 dimension is going to be eligible for all placements. And then if you're dabbling in video, that's less than 15 seconds. So that's advertisers with a little bit less bandwidth in the inventory perspective. I think when we think about inventory, conversely, with advertisers with a little bit more creative bandwidth, I love placement asset customization. So placement asset customization, unlike automatic placements, allows you to actually uniquely fit a creative to an individual placement. So you can imagine, let's say you're open fit and you have this beautiful 9x16 vertical. You have some emojis. You're playing with the swipe up feature. You can put that on the stories placement, whereas you can have a 4x4 dimension creative for Facebook feed and something else for Messenger. So it creates a bit more of a native experience for the user, and sometimes you see a little bit better performance. So advertisers less creative bandwidth, automatic placements, advertisers more creative bandwidth, placement asset customization for sure.
That makes sense. So that's the Facebook perspective. And
Yes.
I know you've helped dozens and dozens of advertisers understand inventory. So now I want to hear from you from a brand perspective. How are you thinking about the different ways that we provide inventory?
Yeah, and I echo everything, right? I think it's absolutely important to have native experiences for every single placement. The one thing I would add is I don't think it's actually that much more incremental work to be a little bit more intentional. I think it's okay to take that extra step to make sure every piece of creative or every piece of placement and inventory type, you're actually designing something for it.
Yeah.
Because even the UX is different, right? Like feed, you're not doing swipe ups. Like everything is slightly different, and really understanding like the image and the message, the core of the message is not like intruded by the UX of where it's sitting. I think really being intentional, I think, is really key. And I don't think it actually takes that much more time or energy or effort to go do that. The other thing that I would like to reiterate is for retargeting, this is extremely important because it's not about impressions, it's about the user. So anytime you're excluding yourself or not have an optimized placement, you're missing an opportunity of getting to that super valuable customer that you want to get retarget, right? So for retargeting audiences, it's actually even more important to make sure that you have the right ad for every inventory because you're trying to get to the user, not the impression. So like it's a little bit nuanced, but like it becomes exponentially more important for that because you're not trying to fight for impressions or traffic anymore. You're actually just fighting for that user. And by you not being in a certain placement, you're just not in front of that user. So I think those two I would add, but really creative, being intentional about the placement that you're trying to add, I think is absolutely critical.
Sunil, that was incredible advice. I'm going to turn it over to Matt. Not everybody has turned the corner, right? A lot of people, they don't want to use automatic placements or they prefer control. Matt, can you talk to me about some of the disadvantages to doing that?
Yeah, it's a common theme we hear quite a bit, which is, an advertiser prefers to separate these placements. And the reason often given is they want to do it for reporting purposes. They want to understand if this placement is better than this other, if this audience is different for this piece of creative. The way I think about it is this. There can be value in those decisions, but they are oftentimes fairly costly. And so I would challenge any marketer out there to ask, how are you using that data? What decision points are you making, understanding that this audience responds differently than the other? And, obviously the value we would assign to that's going to change per advertiser, but you could imagine a number, if we said 5% or 10% overhead to making this call, would you be willing to pay that premium to have that reporting? And is the data you get back from that difference more valuable than what you pay? And that's how I would think about it. There are some select cases, but I would say for most advertisers, the value they get from having the liquidity in our system is more valuable than the data they get back from that reporting difference.
That is a convincing point. So now I'm an advertiser and I have this whole universe of people that I could reach. But messaging becomes extremely important now, right? Because now I have the liquidity, I have the individuals. Matt, how do you think about messaging?
I think, I think it's really important. I think Sunil touched on this comment, right? Having the right product fit, having the right message for that particular product is absolutely critical. And it's more important than the production quality, all of these other things. It's about finding that customer at the right place. And to me, it's thinking about understanding what kind of message is going to resonate with that particular customer. And to me, the value, again, when we go back to thinking about liquidity, is that by having a variety of placements there, you can spend your time thinking about these messages and less time trying to hyper optimize for exactly where you should deliver to.
Absolutely.
I would plus one on that. I think that's a broader mindset. I think most advertisers that are spending any less than $100 million, let's say, right? So don't complicate it, simplify it. Like, if you think about sort of what Facebook's interests are, and this is from an advertiser's point of view, so a little bit of an outside, but really, like, if you think about what's best for Facebook, it is about putting the right piece of content in front of the right user in whatever format they are in, right? Which means they have thousands of engineers trying to solve that exact problem. You don't have to do it in your Excel worksheet and by splitting it in 9 different ways. So don't try to outsmart what Facebook is, like, that's their superpower, right? Like, let them do that. Your superpower is the storytelling. Like, why do you exist? What is your message? The creative. So don't worry about splitting your campaigns by placements and like doing like 0.5% lookalike, 1% lookalike, 2%. Like, don't do all of those things. Simplify the targeting, simplify the placements, really focus on like what you bring to the table as an advertiser, which is the storytelling, right? Like the why you exist. That Facebook can't help you with. So really simplifying everything else and focusing on that, I think, is absolute key. And really, like, this idea that I'm trying to push my team and my creative team on is this idea of brand response, right? If you think about your best converting creative, you're getting a 1 to 2% CTR. 99% of the people are walking away. What are they walking away with? So that when the next ad comes in front of them, are they going to remember that they saw the first ad? So you could do everything in your power, and you're looking at a 2% CTR. 98% of the people are walking away. What are they walking away from? Like, really thinking about that is really powerful, especially as you start to think about full funnel rather than like the traditional way of saying in session conversion rate and same day conversion rate. Like, as you're thinking about, like, really thinking about the messaging holistically, I think it's really key.
Awesome. Julia, your understanding of storytelling is exceptional. Can you give me some advice on, or what would you tell an advertiser anyway, for what they should be focused on as they start to think about storytelling? And how important is storytelling really? Like, should I one primary story and just use broad audiences? Like, how do you think about that?
Yeah, so storytelling, a form of messaging, is incredibly important, as Sunil pointed out. And I think something Matt said is incredibly important, which is it comes down to the engagement that users are going to have with the ad, right? So if you have a message or a story that resonates with your audience, you're going to have stronger click-through rates, you're going to have stronger conversion rates, and ultimately that ad is going to work harder for you in the auction. So a lot of advertisers don't know where to start, or maybe you're an older advertiser and you haven't gone through a messaging exercise in a while, a storytelling exercise in a while. So there's 2 general exercises that I like to do with my advertisers. The first is what I like to call motivators and barriers. We actually did this when you were at Thrive Market, which is a fun exercise. It's about convincing your audience why they should want to purchase from you, either through highlighting a value that your brand represents or by actively addressing something that they might be hesitant to engage or purchase from your brand. So an example I can give, let's say I'm a grocery service, I'm a subscription-based delivery grocery service, and I know that my customers love the convenience of getting a customizable grocery box delivered straight to their door. But a thing that was hesitant maybe for them to sign up is the subscription, right? So they're not sure they're going to be locked in forever. They might want to cancel. So what that comes through in as messaging is a creative with a motivator that says fast, free delivery straight to your door. On the barrier side, it might be something like no hassle, no strings attached, cancel anytime. And the idea is that you will come up with a couple of motivators, a couple of barriers, and then test and iterate to figure out what's resonating with which audience. I think something you both touched on as well, which is a second exercise I like to do, is just simply audience mindset. So maybe having broad audiences, but then understanding where these audiences are kind of in their buying journey or in their engagement with your brand. So are they brand new to you? That's a great opportunity within messaging, within storytelling, to talk about who your brand is, the value that you represent. Let's say they've been to your site, they've actually added something to their cart, maybe they haven't purchased yet. This is a great opportunity then to close a sale with a special offer or re-emphasize why that user should engage or purchase.
So 2 months ago, I would say we were on live and we talked a lot about improving holiday performance. So a lot of it was around holiday messaging specifically. You just mentioned some amazing things on how to think about seasonal messaging, I would say. Now that we're in Q5, and obviously we only have but a few more weeks left before the end of year, am I too late to this? Like, what are some of the things that I could do right now to make sure that I have an incredible, impactful Q5? And this is for anybody.
Okay. So in the audience mindset kind of exercise, I think seasonality fits really well into that. And it's just about making your message resonate a little bit more with that time of year or even something like a cultural moment. So Q5 is a great example of a seasonal opportunity where you can highlight something maybe that you always offer, but now it's an end of year sale, it's an end of year deal. Or maybe it's, again, something that your brand has always represented, but now you're presenting it in the mindset of a motivational message to get someone to start a new habit in the new year or getting that new year, new you kind of perspective. So it's not too late. Tweaking your messaging a little bit can help you stand out in feed. We're talking about being thumb stopping. If I'm a user at the end of the year looking for a deal and I see a creative that's telling me there's a sale, I will probably be more likely to click through on that. Definitely.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. And I think really it's subtle changes, right? Subtle highlights actually can make a big difference. So really thinking about the mindset that your customer is. So in Q5, everybody is kind of getting, coming around the corner from the holidays, and now now they're thinking about the year. What can you highlight about your product or service to get them started, right? Really about getting them off the couch, sitting on their phone, to taking that first step. So that inherently might be part of your product already, of like taking that first 15-minute class or something like that, but really leaning into that as a creative rather than like, we have 8,000 workout videos and like that could be overwhelming, but really thinking like it's about getting started. How do you simplify it to just focus on that first 15-minute workout that you can literally do in whatever clothes you're wearing, wherever you are, right? So it's really like fine tuning and really putting yourself in the mindset of the customer based on either seasonality or whatever else is contextually relevant. And that's what we're going to be doing as we're thinking about Q5 and also definitely relevant for Q1. But really, that's going to be like fine tuning.
Your business naturally has a lot of seasonality. Can you help our audience understand some of the things that you do to prepare for, let's say, the thought process behind seasonality?
Yeah. So we start thinking about it early. Part of the benefit we have is because media is expensive and our conversion rates are low during the holidays, we actually get a nice month and a half buffer for us to actually get ready and prepare for this thing. So, but we do start early, and over time we've gotten better at thinking about it holistically, right? What does a 360 sort of campaign look like beyond Facebook and Instagram? And I know we're talking about Facebook.
What do you mean?
What do you mean? There's no world. Yeah. We're really thinking about it holistically. And when I say holistically, it's not just from a media side of other media partners, but also on-site conversion rate, in product. What does that first user experience look like? If we're putting ourselves in the user's shoe and saying like instant gratification, getting like that first step is going to be really important. What should we do in the product when they sign up for the service? What does that first experience look like? So really thinking about it holistically around, for us, we're fortunate. It's not just about the 4 or 5 days. It's about all of Q1. So we get to invest a little bit more in thinking about that entire time, but really preparing and from media to product experience, all of it together.
That's incredible. Matt, what's your take? Right. So we just covered a lot of different things right now. We covered creative, we covered messaging, we covered the importance of starting as soon as possible, but not everybody has creative budgets, right? So can you give some recommendations on maybe some of the smaller things that you could do to really leverage Q5, whether that's changing or tweaking the structure, adding a new asset? Like, how do you think about that?
Yeah, I think we've touched on a few of these topics already. I'd say the first is simplify, right? Simplify down and have a really focused message on the exact message you want to get across to the customer.
Yeah.
I think we also think a lot about not only simplifying, in the way of our messaging, our approach, but actually our account structure, right? To take an account structure and to remove a lot of that clutter, right? And really allow us to focus really, really exactly on what we want to drive. I think that's a big one. I think to your earlier question, certainly there's a lot of opportunity still left, right? The good news about Q5 and this time of year is that it's unique, right? This time of year kind of in some ways doesn't behave like the rest of the year. So there's always more opportunity, always more you could be learning in this time period. So I would say keep trying, right? Keep experimenting, keep looking at that. And I mentioned experimentation because if you were to ask me, one of the things that just differentiates advertisers that are on a really strong growth trajectory from others is that experimentation. That idea of always learning, of figuring out what works on the system, because it's a dynamic marketplace, and what worked yesterday might not work tomorrow. And so we always want to be constantly figuring out what is most effective at any given point in time.
Okay, and as you're experimenting, I'm assuming that testing obviously becomes the most important thing here. Matt, you've seen many advertisers test aggressively. How important is testing for, let's say, some of our smaller advertisers on the platform?
I still think testing is critical, right? I think testing is the way that we're going to see long-term success on our platform, right? Is to really understand what's working well. In the creative space, we've talked about a lot. My recommendation here is test differentiated creatives, test different messages to see what lands, and then use that through one of our testing frameworks, like a split test, where an advertiser can go in and decide if one ad is better than the other, and know that in a really scientific way that lets you drive your strategic decision making.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I have one more question for you guys, but before I go to that question, I want to remind the audience, please continue to ask your questions. Many individuals are actually going to watch this after we go live. So what that means is there's only going to be a short amount of time to actually act on all of this wonderful information, right? And please also like the questions that you see that are posted by other individuals. So the final question is going to be, if you guys can give me one key takeaway, it could be whatever, maybe we can go back to something, or maybe we could give me a recommendation on what I should be doing Q1, whatever you guys want. One key recommendation, what would it be? I want to give you guys a couple of seconds to think about it. All right. I'm going to start with Matt and then go this way.
Well, I think I've already shared mine, which is the focus on creative as it relates to your product and the right content messaging for that person. It's creative is, in my opinion, still very much what I would consider the secret sauce out there. It's not on hyper optimizing the option. It's on getting the right message out there. So to me, it's focus on creative and focus on really honing in through experimentation on the right message for your audience.
It's incredible. Julia, what about you?
I feel like you kind of took mine, but I'll spin it a little bit. So absolutely creative is my passion. It's something that I encourage my advertisers to explore and whatever that means for them, whether it's storytelling, messaging, or different assets. And experimentation through assets will be my answer. So I worked with an advertiser recently who just tested collections. So they don't have a lot of creative bandwidth, but they had a hero image and they linked their product catalog. It's now the best performing creative that they have. And that didn't take a lot of creative in-house resources, right? And as well, just experimenting with the resources. So the video creation toolkit is a wonderful one that you can quickly upload static images. So experiment in different types of assets is definitely what I encourage everyone to do today. Yeah.
You just mentioned a couple of things that I think our viewers will be absolutely excited about. So we'll definitely include more information after this live feed on a couple of those things you mentioned. What about you, Sunil?
Yeah, no, I think it's similar, right? Like what we've talked about is really focus on the message you want to tell. And more likely than not, Facebook has an ad unit that will actually tell that story more effectively. The other thing is just be scrappy. Like, don't focus on production value. Don't focus on all these highly produced creatives. They're not always working. Like, really focus on authentic storytelling and be a little crazy, right? Do a little contest with all your employees to shoot and create content and like video for your creatives. Do a creative brief and give away $1,000, and every employee just sort of shoots something on their iPhone. Like, be creative about generating creative.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that hook. So unfortunately, we're out of time. right? But Sunil, I want to thank you. You know, we truly appreciate you being here. Come back again soon.
Yeah, of
Right?
course.
Julia,
Anytime.
thank you. Matt McKim, thank you. Again, this was episode 12. More to come. This was Breakthrough Installment 3. There will be a Breakthrough Installment 4, hopefully sometime in Q1, so please tune in. But until then, keep asking your questions, right? We're going to keep this going. You know, the questions are important. Every question you ask, we will try to get back to you. We'll try to give answers. Everything that was said today, we'll also try to provide support and information and documents and like that for. So talk to you guys later. See you next time.